Hey Facebook, just want to introduce myself. This is my page. It's my first time going live. Not that I haven't wanted to, I'm just very busy. But I had watched a video tonight on YouTube by, I think his page is called Rocket Science. And, I think that some of the experienced investigators that talk about like the true crime and things that are happening, not that they're not being honest, but I think that they're taking certain things in the case and kind of discussing it for 10 minutes. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can produce multiple clips, but I just feel like certain topics could be discussed much longer. And I kind of have some thoughts about it, because I feel like, what has happened with the murders, it's really been like sensationalized, and a lot of people have kind of picked up a YouTube channel or Facebook or whatever, and maybe they don't have so much experience, but they have an interest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think, you have to always bring it back to the point of those 4 students, their families, that community. It's really a trickle-down effect. It's just very unfortunate. And I feel like we could really do a better job on how we handle things. But when you don't have experience or knowledge, and not that you can't go to school and be educated, or you can't have an interest in something and investigate it and study it, but if you have not been in the field where you're working with crime scenes, policing, mortuary science, death, murders, like this particular topic, I think, just be very careful on the information that you put out, because it's so important. You don't want to taint a jury. You don't want to, harass those students that are on campus, that know those students that were alive and now they're gone. Their families are already dealing with that loss. And just like losing somebody, it's one thing when you die, or you're kind of anticipating that that's a possibility, because that person is maybe older, they have some illnesses, or they have some complications that are known. But when somebody is murdered, listen, it's a totally different experience. If you haven't experienced that, great. But if you know somebody very close, it's something that stays with you. You don't really get over it. So I really wanted to have this video tonight, because when I listen to the Rocket Science video, not just that video, he does a good job. And, other people, I share those videos, especially if they're worth listening to, if they have information, if they're teaching you something, because that's important. We want to educate, we want to share information that brings everybody in a better situation, where you're more aware, you have this knowledge now, you have this experience. Because if you're not doing it, you just don't really know. But I want to talk about some serious things that's going on in that case. Just things that, watching that video just triggered in my mind very quickly. Just certain things, like one of the first things I was going to bring up, and I took a couple of notes. They were, in the video, he's talking about, how he was throwing out trash at whatever time in the morning, 3, 4, 5 a.m., whatever. And you got to realize, so if anybody has ever had to sit out trash, if you have to physically roll it out or take it outside, sometimes you're trying to beat the trash man. If my trash is getting picked up at 7 a.m. and I forgot to set it out the night before, yeah, I'm going to have to get up. Well, not me personally, but, my husband. and set that trash out because I don't want to keep that trash another week. It's just things like that that they're saying, hey, this is suspicious activity. Listen, if you live in a community, a neighborhood, you're going to hear other people setting their trash out too late because that's real life. So I'm not going to say, oh, this person is a suspect because, listen, stuff happens all the time. And I'm not going to jump on a person for setting their trash out at 4, 5, 6 in the morning. We have definitely set our trash out, and I consider it to be late if it's not the night before. And I can hear my neighbor setting his trash out at 1 a.m. Do you think I feel like he rolling out a body or he has some evidence in his trash? No, absolutely not. So things like that, that incident, and now it's turned into, well, this is why he's a great suspect. That doesn't make him a great suspect. That makes him a man that was setting his trash out. Just like if my trash is full, I'm honestly going to go across the street and see if my neighbor's trash is empty. Let's get real. You think I'm going to take this big old trash bag back in the house? No, I'm going to go next door. I'm going to cross the street. If they stuff is low, I'm going to throw it in their trash and I'm going to keep it pushing. Period. So it's just like behaviors. Listen, I need facts. I need evidence. Show me a video. Show me some eyewitness. And you can't trust eyewitness testimony all the time. I trust video. Show me a video of an action. Because people can say anything. Eyewitness testimony is the worst because it's not reliable. So anyway, let's just move on. Another thing they said, well, when he was setting this trash out, it was double bag. Listen, I have taught my household to double bag everything. When we have items that need to go in the trash, you put it in a bag first. We tie that bag, put a knot in that bag. Take that bag and put it in a larger trash can. So now, because of his action and from things that have been said in the media, he has OCD. I don't have OCD. I just don't want that trash to smell. Because the trash has been picked up once a week. It's old. I've taken it out of the refrigerator. I've thrown food away. Or food that I purchased that now maybe is some left. I don't want to smell it. I don't want it to have an odor in my house. And I have a trash can with a lid because I don't want to smell it. And that's after bagging it and putting it in the trash bag. Then it goes outside. And when I used to live in another area, I would not even sit my trash outside because it would be different animals that would knock your trash can down and tear those bags open and eat. I would leave my trash in the house. I had a large can in my house. And the day of trash day, I would take my trash outside, put it in the can, and roll it to the curb. That's how I protected my neighborhood from having rodents, raccoons walking on my gate, ready to take my trash. So those things, those are not indicators of he's doing something wrong. And it's the timing. The murders happened, I believe the date was November 13th. They're talking about something that happened in December. Apparently, he is producing a pattern where he's bagging trash. When they arrested him, they said they found him in the kitchen putting trash in plastic bags or sandwich bags or whatever. I use regular grocery store bags because it's my way of not throwing away, just use them for trash. Or I buy trash bags. But my point is, if he's producing the same behavior over and over again, that could be a pattern. Just like we all have the pattern of bagging, knotting, and then throwing away. So anyway, you just have to think things through so that you're not you're not tainting a possible jury into believing that these behaviors are going to, you add all these things together and that's a possible suspect. No, that does not make him a suspect. What makes him a suspect is put him on camera, catch him on video somewhere driving that car in that neighborhood that night at that time, put his DNA there at the crime scene where it should not be, which we're going to talk about that also. Show me, if you may, eyewitness, which again is unreliable. Okay? But we could talk about that. So it's just things like that we need to go over. So moving on. Something else I want to talk about. And let's just back this up. This is the other thing. If they found something, why would he keep it? Why would he keep it? Especially if he stopped 2 times coming back to his home state. Why would he hold on to things? And I know, you can go back to different killers, serial killers, and say, well, they kept a momentum, something to remember that death, a driver's license. It could be jewelry. It could be, underwear, whatever. Yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I just don't see why a month later, now he's deciding, maybe they feel, it's closing in on him, and now he wants to discard it. You're going to discard it in a trash can next to you? Like, this is 2023. If you're not watching Forensic Files, back in the day they had America Most Wanted. I mean, we can go back in time. They've shown you different crime scenes over the years. First 48, all these shows. And he's going to do that. And he's got a background, just like me. I went to school for political science pre-law. I also have a police evidence degree and a forensic investigation degree. With all of these degrees, but people do perform differently under pressure and stress. And maybe you're not thinking clearly. I don't know, because I don't know the suspect. I can't imagine, and I don't even want to say him as a suspect. I'm going to say the killer, because we don't know. We don't know. We haven't prosecuted him. He have not been found guilty. So I'm not going to even attach that to him. I'm going to say the killer or killers, because we don't know. We are trying to figure that out through the investigation process and collecting of evidence. And we really got to take a step back, and we got to look at everything. So let's keep moving. Something else that was talked about. I'm trying to read it. I'm sorry, I can't see because it's so dark in here. It's 2 parts, really. So, from the media, there was 5 people in the house. This is my hand. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had Ethan, who was not a member of the house, but in the house as a boyfriend, staying the night. We have 3 female roommate victims, so that makes the four victims. I'm not gonna say their names. We know their names, because I really want to be respectful and really focus on the events or event of what happened to them. So I want to just walk this through and think this through as a thinking person, not just my education, but as a thinking human being. Just like now, if I was to walk over there and slam my bedroom door, my husband would be woke. If I was playing, my TV is on, but if I was playing my TV loud, that would wake him up. So let's be clear. We have to start questioning, thinking about, assessing information. So 2 things that we gotta hit on that happened that night, November 13th. You have the first floor, so you have 3 floors. The first floor, 1 roommate that survived, that was not attacked. The second floor, 1 roommate that survived, that was not attacked. We have the couple on the second floor that were attacked and both died. And then we have the third floor where the 2 females, 1 former roommate just moved out, and 1 roommate on the third floor. Both attacked, both died. So we have 4 that died, 6 that were in the house. And you guys really have to look at the layout of the house. It's wild. Because From the front, you can go online and see it. It's everywhere. People have talked about it. And it's worth looking at. It's worth looking at those videos. It's also worth looking at the video when they drive through the neighborhood, so that you can see the layout of the housing, the road, the distance between like the gas station, all of that stuff. You have to think about time. You could watch the video about the police officer that was like less than 2 football fields away when allegedly the murders happened, as far as time. But what I really want to focus on is the layout of the house. You have the front of the house, so when you're looking at it, if you were to enter into the house, you're on the first floor, 2 bedrooms there. So the way the house was set up is 2 bedrooms on each floor, 2, 2, and 2. So if you're coming from the front, you're on the first floor when you enter. Bedroom, I want to say left and right. I'm trying to keep it simple. If you're looking at the back of the house, so you have a concrete walk-in, that is the second floor. So if you're coming from the back of the house, the rear, you're actually coming into the second floor. And how that works is, when you enter, you're in the kitchen. You're going through the kitchen area. And then there's 2 bedrooms. The third floor, and the bedrooms are kind of apart. You go around, then you have the steps that lead to the third floor, and there's 2 bedrooms up there. So because of the layout of the house, you're really going to have issues with sound. Because what's happening on the third floor, you might not hear it on the first floor. What's happening on the first floor, you might not hear it on the third floor. The second floor is a gamble, just because you have a floor below and a floor above. And the other thing is that we have to address, if you never lived on a college campus, or you have not lived in a college dorm, you might not understand when they're talking about this party life, okay? Not to be funny or anything, but it's just different. When you're on campus, there's rules. You know, no visitation after 8 p.m., for example. No movement after 10 p.m. You know, just come in and coming out. But no up and down and all that in one quiet time. So many different rules. But when you're off campus, now you pass that first year. Usually, when you go off to college, that first year they want you on campus. After the first year, you can live off campus. Now, all of these students, they were graduating and senior, you know, they had been there for a while, so they were off campus. But how their off-campus work, just like any college, if you don't live on campus, you can live off campus, but close to the university. That's kind of how it was set up. But we had to consider, when you're living close to the university, the housing can be kind of wild. You can have somebody renting a house out, say it's $3,000 a month. If you can put 6 people in that house, split that $3,000 a month, that's $500 for each student. That's way more reasonable. So that is why you're having two bedrooms on each floor. It's really for cost. And then the way that was set up, and I believe, I really don't want to talk about the family so much, but from what I was hearing, one of the locks was changed. So I believe all the bedrooms, even though they're rented individually in that house, they had locks. So for privacy, for protection, for safety, because if I'm a quiet person, maybe I don't want to join in on the party. Maybe I just want to go to my room. So to kind of separate myself, I can go to my room, I can lock my door. So I'm not worried about people coming through. Now you have what you would say is shared spaces, the kitchen. If they didn't have private bathrooms, which they're probably not going to have that. Maybe 1 bathroom on each floor for just the plumbing to run up. So the kitchen, maybe the dining room, the bathrooms, maybe if there's a basement for storage. I'm not sure. I didn't see a basement on the layouts. But my point is, by each person having a lot, they can kind of close themselves off. They can choose whether to come in, come out, or if they leave, they can lock their door. Nobody's entering their space. So I'm laying all of this foundation to really go over 2 things. The first thing is the roommate that was on the first floor. We have not heard anything about what she knows. She's in the house. I believe they say she was at home by approximately 1 a.m. So you're there prior to the murders, and then you're also there after the murders, but you're on the first floor. The murders have taken place on the second floor and the third floor. Again, remember I talked about the layout and what you could and could not hear, or may not hear. They don't know if the killer or killers entered through the front of the house or in the back of the house, where you're entering off that concrete area, patio area, right into the second floor because of the layout. And it's interesting because if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m., whatever time it was when the killer or killers got to the house, you have to imagine that on a Saturday, because that was the day the killing happened. Where are students on a Saturday? Think about it. If you're young, you're 18 to 22, you don't have school, you could be at work, you could be out, or you could be at a party. And by the fraternities and sororities having houses, you know, it's going to be a constant movement area. People coming, they're going out, they're going to the bar, they're returning. Depending on what state, the bar may close at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I don't know. So you always got to remember you're going to have activity. And they've shown different police videos where the police are kind of questioning people just walking. Hey, where you going? You know, because they're concerned about open containers, beer, underage drinking. You know, normal stuff that happen at a you know, college dorm or community. You know, you want to keep people safe. You don't want any drunk driving, things like that. But let's just take a moment and just think about the area. If you saw any videos that showed you the view of the front of the house, is very visible, it's very open. There's no landscaping or bushes. So anybody walking up to that house, somebody's going to see it. You park in front of the house, you walk up from an angle in the front. What is the likelihood of you, especially if you don't know the code? Because from my understanding, those doors had codes. But people do share codes. Or if you've been to the house for a prior party, they're not changing the code regularly, you can know the code and just literally walk in. So remember that. Remember to always protect yourself. Something about that key, you got to get a copy of the key, but with a code, you can just pass that on. So think about that for your safety and your protection. Now, the rear of the house, now, wasn't a lot of lighting in the back, so you're not going to be as visible. It's dark. It's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4. We don't know what time. We know approximately what time the murders happened because we know there was some online activity, and I'm really trying not to go into like a great length of detail, but there was some online activity that showed that 2 of the girls was online using TikTok or whatever social media. And also there was a delivery for food, and they even showed the food after the murder, you know, the bag. So we know that was delivered. The delivery person said they delivered it. So we know from time-wise that it happened after 4 a.m. It was like a small window. But we just set it there just to have some kind of idea. So we know that the student on the first floor was home by 1 a.m. Now, I don't know if that person went to sleep. I don't know if that person locked their door. And we don't know if the killer or killers came downstairs or if they entered from the front or the rear. But let's use your imagination. Are you going to enter or try to enter into a house from the front where somebody could possibly see you? Okay? If you think about it. Or are you going to enter from the rear where maybe you wouldn't be seen, and there was parking back there, things like that? My opinion, I believe the person entered from the rear. The reason I think that is because there's more coverage where you're not being seen, is darker. You can walk right up. Less people will probably see you. You can park your car and literally just walk right up. Probably less than 20 seconds. And then with those sliding doors, that was the tier, so it was like a balcony on the second floor. If you're physically able to climb up, you're on the second floor. Sometimes those sliding glass doors don't stay locked. Or I see a lot of people, they put a piece of wood across to keep it closed. I just want you to think about that. And there wasn't a lot of window treatments, blinds, such a thing, so you can see in the house. You know, you got to think about that. There's nothing wrong with, you know, having people be able to see in and you see out. But you do want to protect yourself and have some kind of window covering. So it's not permanent, like always somebody can see what you're doing every time you turn on the light, walk past. Because there's voyeurs out here. There's people that stalk people, harass people, looking at windows and calling people Tom. So you want to always think about that. And they're girls. So, not to say people wouldn't do that with boys, but so we just want to think about, if you're on that first floor and you're that roommate and you're getting home at 1 a.m., did she go to sleep? Was she listening to her headphones? No, we have to make sure our kids aren't walking around with those headphones, because they're really not hearing. You know, like the earbuds, you could put one in and keep the other ear open. You want them to be able to hear and be aware of their surroundings all the time. Be aware of what's being said around you, what's happening around you. So we want to be careful about that. Was the person asleep by 4 a.m.? I mean, that's a long time to stay up. Maybe you're playing a video game, watching a movie, on your phone. I'm on my phone, and it's very late. But, you know, we need to hear that statement. We need to know what that person knows. Now, the other surviving roommate that was on the second floor, she did provide a statement, which was very surprising. I was shocked. I really was, because I didn't know the police knew that much information. But for her to give a detail of the eyebrows and the mask, and she's, you know, she was hearing things, and I can imagine the emotion, the fear. I'm a woman just like her. I imagine that she was frozen with fear. And her first initial thought was self-preservation. Close the door, lock it, and hide. I just wish in that moment she could have taken her phone, but maybe she didn't have it in her hand. Maybe she was too afraid to get it and call 911. But I wish that had happened. But I won't go over why. You know, it doesn't matter. We can't change anything, you know. It's not going to do us good to go back in the past as if we can change it. But I just want people to know for their future and now, today, present day, if you can call 911, if you could call for help. A lot of times we have our phones, we have them close. We could press 911. If we could call for emergency services. You know, maybe that could save a life, save your life, save somebody else's life. Even if you can't intervene, if you see something, please say something that could save somebody's life. So, it's just very, very regretful. But I can understand the fear. I can imagine the trauma. And I would hope that there was nothing that they could do, you know, to help those students. Because I don't want that person to walk around and feel a level of guilt for what happened. To get my charger. So let's move past that and talk a little bit more about the other roommate. The roommate that was on the second floor, we know she went into hiding from her statement. She gave the description. She said what she heard. And there was a period of time that was maybe approximately between 4:15 and 4:30, and we don't know exactly. But there was a period of time where the murders happened, and then 911 emergency services were called for help. Now, from the 911 recording, they're estimating it was right before noon, 12 o'clock. So in my brain, I'm looking at approximately, let's just say 4:30 a.m. to almost noon. So you're looking at between 7.5 and almost right around 7.5 hours. Let's say between 7 and 7.5 hours of no call for help. I'll just say this. Time is important if someone is injured. It's imperative that you call 911. You ask for that help. You give them a location. If you can let them know the circumstances. Somebody's cut, somebody's shot, they're bleeding, they're injured. This is where they are in the house. The police, if you have that type of 911 call, they're going to dispatch and provide details as the police are en route. And they'll ask you, do you need ambulance services, things like that. So we want to try to have our composure when we're talking to 911 to give details. I saw this person. This is what they had on. This is the direction they went. This is how tall they appeared to be. This is what they were wearing. As many details as you can, because that's information on the assailant. Also, and just talking about injuries, that lets them know if you know what's going on and you saw it happen, you can tell them they have a knife, they have a gun, they have an axe, a machete, whatever that object is, because the police have to come in prepared to know that this is a high risk situation, so they can mentally prepare for their own protection, their own safety, and also that they can get there faster. So it's a priority, because that's very important. 7.5 hour time difference, and you're cut. If you ever prick your finger, cut your finger when you're cooking, you're going to bleed. And with a knife, listen, I did an internship some years back with an agency. I saw a lot, and I know a lot. That type of injury, just like if you were to get cut, it would be a gaping opening. You're going to bleed out until you can apply pressure to slow that down. If you're able to apply pressure. Okay? So we want to get those emergency services as soon as possible. That's like, it's vital. So let's just slow this down a little bit and get back to the point of saying that when a person is attacked, most natural instinct, if they're awoke, is to defend themselves, to protect themselves, to defend themselves. You ever heard of defensive wounds? You get that on the arms, you get that on the hands, because the person is saying no, stop. They might try to grab that object, the knife, for example. They'll get cuts all in their hands. They may even lose a part of a finger because they're trying to stop the attack. Sometimes when there's a struggle, I'm really trying hard not to go there. But if two people are equally matched, size-wise, height-wise, sex, it might be a struggle. It might be a battle. Because if I see you enter a room and you're yielding a weapon, okay? Second floor was done first. That was a male and a female, right? Let's just imagine that for a second. Two people in a room. If killers come in the room with a knife, who are they going to go for first? And since this house was set up for all girls, let's just imagine that they knew it was an all-girls house. They're expecting girls. Now, is it a possibility a boyfriend could be there, a friend could be there? Absolutely. So who's the bigger threat? What would you do? Who would you attack first? Who's going to put up the most fight? Okay? Let's just think about it clearly. And you got height, size, strength, build. I'm 5'3". I can't take no man that's 6 feet. I could be strong, but it's going to be hard. And I could fight with all my might, but it's going to be very hard for me to subdue a man that has a weapon. And I don't have a weapon. I have my hands, my body, and I'm woke. Can you imagine if a person is falling asleep? They may not even see that coming. They may be in bed resting. They may even have their back to the door. Okay? Let's think about it clearly. Whenever you I'm trying so hard. Whenever you take an object like a knife and pierce it into somebody, when you pull that knife out, what's going to happen? That blood's going to come out. Blood drips down your hands. It splatters. Because you're going up, you're coming down. If you do this and you're pulling out. So when you push in, it's going to pretty much stay in there until you pull that knife out. You have to reuse the same knife. Or you coming down. What's going to happen to that blood? It's going to splatter, right? So you can imagine that's on your clothes, your face, your shoes, the bed, the floor, right? The walls. Okay? Use your imagination. See, this is not YouTube. This is a real life. Okay? Real life. We're going to talk about it. Not that mess you see on the internet. Okay? We're going to really talk about it. You're covered. You're covered. And what happens, a lot of knives don't have what the K-bar has. They have a block that prevents slippage. So your hand doesn't run down because there's a little block there on the knife. So when you're going up and down, it's very secure. Your hand is not going to slide down on the blade because it's a piece that blocks it, okay? So that's intentional. That person went in with intent. They didn't go in the house and get a knife out the kitchen drawer. That was planned. Thus the mask, okay? The mask, okay? That's why you don't see a lot of footprints. Okay, think about it. Was that person wearing plastic on their shoes? They take the plastic off when they got outside. Okay, let's think about it. I need everybody to be critical thinkers. Use your critical thinking skills right now. So I believe that Ethan was attacked first because he would have been the harder person to subdue. There would have been some fighting back. Okay? There would have been a battle. a battle for survival. They say that your endorphins kick in. You have I think it's called you're gonna either flee or fight. Because he was young, he had athletic ability, he was strong, he was an athlete. I honestly believe he fought. Unless he was asleep. But they're going to tell you everything because they're going to release the medical examiner's report. And you'll see defensive wounds on the hands, the arms. Listen. Nothing has gotten real yet. Okay? We really need to make sure that we're keeping the focus on those 4 students and how they were bludgeoned. They didn't have a chance. Not against that knife. Not against that type of knife. And that's how he was able to kill the girlfriend in the room. Because he was not able to stop that knife attack. And when she probably, tried and fought all her might, when that blood is draining, you're gonna weaken. You can't fight that knife. You can't fight. You can't win that battle. So let's just move forward. The 3rd floor. Let's just think about this. The killer or killers killed 2 people, I believe, first on the 2nd floor. Okay? What was the need to go to the 3rd floor? You'd have to kind of go out of your way to leave that scene, that struggle, battle. They're fighting for their life in that room. To then decide to continue on and go up another flight. I don't think it started with the 3rd floor and came down to the 2nd floor. I don't think that. And the reason I don't think that is because if it started on the 3rd floor, people on the 2nd floor didn't hear that struggle. If he went up there, or they went up there and killed 2 girls that were woke, because we know they were woke because of the online activity. At least one of them was. He went up there and killed them first. Don't think they would have heard that ruckus, screaming, yelling, moaning, crying, please, no, stop. Okay? And then to come down, I believe Ethan would have been right there to figure what's going on. Even if he woke up. You're gonna hear some screams. That's why I believe it started on the 2nd floor, but that's neither here nor there. That's not even important. What is important is the people on the 1st floor, the roommate on the 1st floor didn't hear anything. I guess, I don't know. The statements haven't come out. And then on the 2nd floor, there were some things heard, which was very disturbing. I'm here to help you, or I want to help you. Okay? Think of the mindset. You're literally taking somebody's life. 2 people. And you're stating, I'm here to help you. I want to help you. Think about that. As you're stabbing them. Bludgeoning them to death. Think about the mindset. What has to be going on psychologically in that mind. You're looking at a disturbed person. I feel like it's not a female. I feel like that's a man. Especially because Ethan was killed. And I believe Ethan would have been able to possibly handle a female. I believe it was at least one male. Very strong. At least Ethan's size. And the knife is what gave that person or people the leverage, that knife. And I actually believe it was one attacker. Just because of the layout of the house, it gave them room to be able to kill the 2 people then go on the third floor and kill her because of the separation. And I do not believe Ethan saw the roommate on the second floor that saw him. If it was Ethan or whatever the suspect, the killer was. I mean, not Ethan, excuse me. I meant to say Brian. I really want to mention his name so much. It's really about the killer, and we don't know who that is yet. That hasn't been proven. So I do want to correct that. How y'all doing? Just thinking about processing this information in your head. So let's keep going. I'm not gonna talk about too much more. I did have a few other things. So we're gonna get off of the crime scene for a minute and just talk a little bit about Brian Kohlberger. I'm very interested to know what evidence, and I'm saying evidence with quotation marks because so much speculation out there. There was boxes and boxes of information taken from his parents' home where he lived in his hometown. And then there was also a search warrant executed on his job, his office. And I'm interested to know what information was found. I know they were taking computers or things like that. What was found? I need to know. I want to hear that information in a trial. The reason being is because a lot of people do searches. A lot of people try to, obtain information online. Addresses, phone numbers, names. They have online profiles. There may have been some messaging. I'm going to drink some water. I know the police were trying to connect him to the victims. Excuse me. And they were trying to see if they had any connections like online or through the school or any kind of acquaintance. That's very important. But in college, people know people. You don't have to know them personally. They don't have to be your friend. You're going to the same university, similar major. You can be mixed in with somebody in another class. I mean, that line is very thin to connect one person to another. You could go there, you had jobs, you can go to somebody's job, and that's how you cross their path. But I'm going in the same community, small communities, everybody goes to the same grocery store. It could be a connection like that. Local businesses, everybody needs the same services. Car wash, food. I mean, we need more than just, this is how they know each other. They may know each other this way. We cannot be building cases on very weak information, and that's not evidence. Evidence to me means this person had a connection, that they reached out to them, that they tried to connect with them, that they met in some meaningful way, maybe a video, maybe text messages, DMs, I don't know. I don't know what the police have to connect them. And I don't think they have to connect them because I believe that house being the way it was, a party house, college parties, people hear about it, they're going to show up. Okay? That's normal. That's very typical. People invite other people, friends. Listen, a small town, you could literally be going to a religious service, church service, and not even know the people there. So let's be clear. Just saying they crossed paths or they reached out, in what way? I need details. I need more information. We cannot just keep going on surface commentary and inflaming it. We need more information. No very weak information. Very circumstantial information. You can place anybody there. Okay? Don't mean they know each other. Don't mean they cross paths. Don't mean they even acknowledged them, seen them, was aware of them. Okay? So let's just cut that thought out. Let's get some facts. So I want to know what was collected, what evidence, what was found, what records, searches. I want some more details on that. And I just want to say this about the house too. Not just that it was a party house, meaning, different people come, fraternities, sororities, friends, people from the university. That wasn't just part of a trail of DNA because so many people are coming to your house. The other part is, and I'm going to do a little Court TV Nancy Grace moment. Something that she was really connecting was it's very important when you're looking at a case, you need to know some basic foundational stuff. And a lot of people may not be aware of this, but something that she even educated me on a little bit more was most people start off with small offenses. So they may have a record initially, maybe when they're younger. They always say hurting animals is one. Having some difficulty, with people, your personality. But another one is, that peeping Tom, that voyeurism, looking in windows. It starts there. Now, you got to recall there was no, well, let me put it like this. Because this is another thing. In policing, you don't want to give the details of your investigation. One thing the police did try to do, they tried to keep things close to the vest, but I know it's difficult for their family because they want to know details they want to put out in the public, see if people can kind of connect to that information and provide, information for a suspect. The hard part about that is you have to have a balance. If you give all your investigation information to the family, and to the public, what if people come and falsely say they're the killer? Because they use all the information you put out in the public. You gave it to the media. So you have to hold some things to the vest so you can kind of assess what a person is saying. So if you say, for example, where did you take the body? Simple question, right? Well, if you show pictures and video of the body being found dumped by the river, they're just going to repeat what they found from the media. But if you ask them a different question, such as, can you please describe what they were wearing? Any jewelry, shoes, shirt? Was it a dress? Was it pants? What color? Did they have a coat on? It's more details, right? Because that's something that's not going to really get out to the public. You see that with a lot of kids' investigations when they get kidnapped. The first thing, what were they wearing? What shoes? What coat? Can we get a picture of the outfit? What color? Did it have any writing? Did it have any characters? So let's just be very, very careful. When upset happens with the police, it's not because they're not trying to share the details. It's to protect the investigation. You want to keep those things close to you. So when you are interviewing people, possible witness, because some people just want fame. So they'll come forward, hey, I know information. And they're not even telling you the truth. They have you down here, or you have misdirection. In past cases, you even had a killer being interviewed and giving them another option. Like, you should check them out as a suspect. And they're the killer. Okay? So the killer is always going to know those details. And that's why a lot of police agencies do not share a lot of details with the public. They may have a press conference, but the press conference is focused on a strategy that weeds the killer, the suspect out. Not, this is every aspect of our case, and let me share with you this, and this is what happened, and this is what we're looking for, because the killer is going to know details that the average person that has no knowledge, they won't know. They won't know correctly. They can say anything, but they won't know correctly. So that's very important. So that's something, you know, we want to keep that in mind, to not be upset with the police because you feel that they're not doing more. They're not sharing information. They're not keeping you in the loop. They're not having a lot of media coverage on the case. It's because it's to protect the investigation. Okay, that's like so important. I know this was the issue with Idaho 4 murders for some of the family, and I also believe the family knew some details, and it upset them that it wasn't getting to the public, but it was really to protect the integrity of the investigation. So there is a balance with trying to provide information to the family. You have to balance that out with also protecting the integrity of the information, because if you give all the information out, all the evidence out, that could also taint a possible jury later, because it's like you're trying it in the public court, not the criminal court, the public court. So you're trying to draft an opinion and get people to support or disagree one way or another, and that's not good. That can really tank your evidence. They can say, no, this is not going to be allowed to be submitted. We're not going to accept that. So we have to be very, very careful about that, releasing that information before it's time, which is court. Okay? So we're going to wrap it up with two last things. We talked a little bit about the 911 call. There's been a lot of talk about why was the 911 call so late, how many hours. I agree, I'm concerned about that. But not just that though, but there's been a lot of videos out about other people being caught coming to the house. The roommates were not the ones to call 911 to speak to 911 dispatch, but their phone was used. One of the female roommates that was not attacked and killed. It's you know, it's hard. It's really hard. Because people came out and said they knew at 8 a.m. They knew at 9 a.m. Okay? So if the public is saying, I knew at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., well, how did you know? Well, somebody called and had them come over, right? But it still took 2 to 3 hours, right? Or more to call 911. So we have to start asking why. What happened between those hours? There was someone that said the front door was open at 8 a.m. Was that because people were already there and saw the crime scene? And then that also goes back to the integrity of the crime scene. You know, what is evidence? Footprints, fingerprints, what was touched? Okay? Was victims moved? Was the crime scene altered? Was evidence removed? You know, there's a lot to talk about, especially on the defense side. And this is not to help the defense or anything, but we have to address real issues. If somebody, and not just one person, multiple people are coming out. My daughter knew at 9 a.m., another student, I knew because I had to go to work, and that was before 9 a.m. I had to be at work at 9 a.m. I got a call at 8 a.m. I already knew. And this is also true because one of the family came out and said another student of Ethan called one of his twins, the twin brother, and let him know that Ethan was in the house and got killed. So it's some truth to it. We need details. If they were able to call friends and others over, or were they already in the house? We honestly don't even know who was in the house. Right? We don't. Did they call them over, or were they already there? And how many people? Who? Right? Who was in the house? We have no idea even now. Something to think about, right? Why did it take an additional 2, 3, 4 hours for 911 to be called? And when clearly, when the police got there, it was full of people, full of other students. And you got to imagine, you're having housing next to each other. So you're looking at hundreds of people in a small area. That must have been a scene. And people are coming and looking and walking through. Every time I've ever seen an investigation, the police put up tape. You don't even know who was in the house at the time of the murder. You don't even know who was called over to the house. You don't even know who came into the house after the murder. So when you start talking about footprints, fingerprints, evidence, we got problems. On top of it being a party house. How many people are coming through on a regular basis? When was the last party? How often do they clean the house? Do you have thousands of fingerprints? Because let me tell you something. When you talk about that sheath, that knife sheath, that's what you insert the knife in. It's like a little pocket and you put it in there. And they're saying it's touch DNA. Well, touch DNA could be something like, I'll give you an example. I touch something. I touch the surface of something. And then you carry it home and my DNA is on there. I may have never even been there. I'll give you an example. My husband needs an ink pen for work. I pick up the ink pen, hand it to him. He carries it to work. He leaves the work at a bank. He leaves the ink pen at a bank robbery. When they dust the ink pen, my fingerprint comes back. Say I was at the bank. I've never been at the bank. Don't even know what bank they're talking about. But my fingerprint is on that ink pen. Right? And you're looking at a college campus with thousands of students. The only thing that's troublesome is that it was a sheath, if that's true. Because I haven't really heard any of the testimony from the defense. You know, I don't know if they're going to test the evidence also separately. And that's another thing I'm concerned about, them tearing down the house. The university bought the house and they want to tear it down. But I think that's a terrible idea. In some murders, it's helpful to see the scene, to walk through for that jury. Particularly because the layout of the house is not leveled. The front of the house, you're looking at the first floor. You walk in, you're on the first floor. You go to the back because of how it's made, and they just added additional parts, additions to the house. It's different, you know. So you're coming in off the second floor in the rear, and then there's a third floor with a balcony. So, yeah. And that's why I said about the peeping Tom and the voyeurism. You know, people get into that before they actually start to stalk, harass, kidnap, rape, mutilate. It starts off with that voyeurism. Learned that from Nancy Grace. Okay? So we should see prior history. Okay? We should be expecting that of incidents. And there have been some stuff brought up, some allegations about Kohlberger with some voyeurism, harassment, stalking. You don't know if it's true because he haven't been, to my knowledge, charged, but there's allegations out there, so we're not going to go there because he haven't been convicted. No information and evidence has been put on, but that's being said. Okay. That's an allegation. Okay? It's a lot. I just want everybody to go on the journey that I'm going on. And I'm glad to do it. And I'm glad to get my thoughts out and share my knowledge and experience. and just highlight some things that I clearly see in what's coming out in the news, what's reported, and I hope that the trial will be televised through video, so we don't have to get reports every day and descriptions of what happened versus seeing it. Excuse me, it's late. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and this is what, okay, I'm trying to think of how I want to start this piece. So, there has been some information out there about cell phone towers tracing calls and basically knowing where a person is through the GPS. This is why I hate smartphones, because you have no privacy. Leave your phone at home. You can't turn it off. Your phone could tell you the last place you went. I went to a store one day. It told me you were last here and you last visit on this day, because it's always following you. I don't care if you turn off, they still track it. That's that Google. Okay? Google is on all these phones before you get them. The cloud, everything. It's like a data collection agency collecting information, because one day it could be used against you. Well, anyway, moving forward, let's talk about it. I don't know if everybody remember the Hernandez case, where he was a football player and he was placed at the location where his friend was killed. He had a rental car. There was blood in the rental car. And I can recall him physically being placed through the GPS. So it was very hard for him to fight that case and deny it. But going back to this Idaho 4, there's a lot of talk about the tracking of movement. And I have a huge, huge problem with that. And this is why. And I hate to keep saying a small town, but more so a college town. Not just a small town, but a college town. You're going to have areas that are geared towards shopping. It could be food. It could be clothing. It could be a mixed business area. And as far as being close to the campus, you're going to have certain businesses that cater to those students. Pizza, it's a big one. Subs, maybe 7-Eleven type of business. They're going to have items. You might have a bus route. If the city is not that small, even the campus can have a bus system. My point is, when you start talking about GPS and tracking, it's going to be areas where people go regularly. That's normal. Grocery store. I don't know if people dry clean anymore, but that could be another example. Food, ordering food, going to the bar, like they had the food truck. People go on a Saturday, and point being, when you start talking about GPS, I want specific details, like down to where a person was standing at that time and how long, because it's very important. Anytime you have like a college atmosphere with a lot of different students, different ages, parties, it's on a Saturday, it's between that special time where students are out, they're drinking, they're partying, they're going to the bar. If you're on a campus-like area, even an off-campus area that's close to campus, you're going to have a lot of activity. Not just that, but in a smaller city, a lot of people know the same people. So you telling me that this person traveled and they was near this campus area or off-campus area where a lot of people live, you might have in one building 100 people. And the buildings are next to each other. Sororities, fraternities. So would it be unlikely? Think about it. That a person would go on a Saturday in this area, that they may know someone. You know, he was a student too. Maybe he went to get food. Maybe he was driving through. Maybe he was on his way home. Maybe he stopped by and saw a friend. You know, I'm not going to put a murders on a person until you can show me if the tower distance, 1 mile away from the house. 1 mile away is a lot of feet. Is it a half a mile, a quarter of a mile? Is it 1 block? It all makes sense in context. When you give me the context, what's the difference from the tower to the house? And then show me where that person was standing and for how long. Did they not meet somebody? Listen, people buy books. They sell items on campus, off campus, to other students. When a semester and people try to unload those books, and they trying to buy books for the next semester, you got to book your classes before the next semester. It could be a lot of reasons why something is happening, and I just don't have enough yet. But I want to be right. It's very, very, very important for those families, for those students, for that community. But more so for the students that won't have another day to live, to pursue their dreams, to enjoy their life, to become an adult in person, and they just got so much stolen from them. I really don't want to go down that road. But it's important that the focus remains on them. Because just as it's important to convict, it's also important to convict the right person. So many people in prison that are innocent, but also they may not be innocent of other crimes, they're innocent of that one, okay? I'm sure, there's people in there that are not guilty. So we want to make sure when we're looking at that GPS information that we have a context. Is there a Walmart nearby? Grocery store? What's the distance? How long was they there? How often? Was they meeting a girlfriend? Were they on a date? We have to really, really assess, filter that out. So I've had this page for a while. I've been wanting to make it for a long time. It's important to me. And I know I need to do this much, much more often. And I will commit to more regularly coming on here with myself in commentary. Something I was also interested in was the sub situation where that sub Titanic imploded. I have my thoughts on that. I may discuss that. I'm not sure, because it's a very sensitive situation, and I'm very sorry for the loss of those people, including the Idaho 4 students. I didn't say that in the beginning, but I do feel that, so I should say that now. My heart goes out to anybody that has lost a loved one, especially tragedies like the Idaho 4 students, and of course what happened with the sub, which, in all honesty, it really, really didn't have to happen. We have to start getting to a place where we don't have to have it all. We can be satisfied. We can be complete and whole and not have to go into these dangerous situations willingly with high risk. And that just seemed like something that could have been completely avoided. They have different companies that have gone under and videoed and took pictures, and I'm very interested in the Titanic, in the wreck, and those families. I think it's been 100 years, maybe 110. I can't remember the exact date right now. But, excuse me. This seemed like something that did not have to happen. And I think we could have better use of funds. So, that's just something to consider. I might do a video on it. I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence about it. It's fresh, and I have some strong opinions. And, I don't know. I will have to think about the right words to say about that. So anyhow, this has been a long one, so I just want to thank you for checking out my video, hearing my ramblings late in the morning. And hopefully I will see you in a future video. Take care, stay blessed, and have a good night. Bye.